You're now listening to Sound Talent Media. Check out more shows at soundtalentmedia.com.
Hey, what's up, everyone? I'm Matt Migaki, the vocalist of Cryptopsy and the host of the Vox and Hops Metal Podcast, where I sit down with fellow metal musicians. We talk all about their lives and music while sharing killer craft beers. If you've ever wanted to sneak backstage and share a beer with one of your favorite musicians, well, Vox and Hops is the podcast for you. This week on the podcast, I dropped a killer episode with Johannes Ekström of Avatar. There is this episode and over 440 other ones to help you enjoy life, metal, and craft beer. So what are you waiting for? It's time to become a Vox and Hops head. Cheers!
Hey there, folks. How's it going? These spots are always a little bit weird because I'm sitting here, I'm talking into a microphone, and there's nobody responding to me on, like an immediate level. But yet I know you're hearing it. I know all of you are hearing it. But still, I'm just kind of sitting here by myself talking into a microphone, which always has weirded me out. That said, my weirded outness can't stand in the way of letting you know about Gun Street Wiring Shop. Gun Street Wiring Shop, we've talked about it before, out of Bend, Oregon. Sean was actually on the last episode, so if you're curious, the head man himself on the last episode spilling his guts. So check that out if you're interested. And I'm gonna say it, seems like he can do whatever when it comes down to wiring harnesses for your guitars. He's the point man. He's where you go. He's actually going to be doing the wiring harness in my birthday present, which is a little bit of a belated birthday present, but it's a birthday present nonetheless. I'm getting a Jazzmaster built for me, which you guys have probably heard me talk about on multiple points on the episode, but it's a thing, and Sean is doing the wiring for it to make it extra special and extra awesome. So for any of your guitar wiring needs, make sure you check out Gun Street Wiring Shop. Wiring Shop. I can't talk right now. I'm so tired. GunStreetWiringShop.com, and check out any of their wares. Email Sean if you have any questions. Great people making great products and supporting the community. So check them out. And where, oh, where would we be without our wonderful boys up north, Sinusoid? Sinusoid has been supporting this podcast for a very long time, and if you have not had a chance to check out their stuff, please do it. It's top-notch stuff, top-notch people standing behind the products, and great designs. They really are going out of their way not just to be another cable company. They're going out of their way to make sure their designs stand the test of time. And you know what else they do that I haven't really gave enough love to is pedal board setups. Sometimes we get in over our head. Sometimes we got a board beyond our wildest imaginations, and the wiring of that thing can get rather daunting, and getting it set up so every pedal is accessible and ready to go. Those guys can help you out with that stuff too. So hit up sinusoid.com, and they will get you set up with all of your cabling needs. It doesn't matter if it's a speaker cable, patch cable, instrument lead, whatever, or a full-blown board setup. Those are the guys to see. Sinusoid.com. Check out Sinusoid. Do it. Please do it. Do it. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the ToneMob.com podcast, the show about guitar tone and the people behind it. I'm your host, Blake Weiland, and with me today, I have David Rainger of Rainger Effects, somebody who I've been looking forward to talking to for a very long time, and I don't know why it's taken so long, but here we are. How's it going, David?
Hi there. Not too bad, thanks, Blake. Yeah. Nice to be here.
Yes, like here. It's always a weird thing when it's like, I'm glad to be here, but
yes, here virtually. I'm in London
right,
at the moment. But,
right. How's things over there? Over here, it's hot. It's super hot right now. What are we looking at over there?
Here it is baking. We've had a mad heat wave for like about 5 weeks, and no one here has any air conditioning, so we're all just frying except us. We have air conditioning. It's totally brilliant.
Nice.
Ranger effects in the
Oh,
workshop.
well, that's
there.
perfect then.
But the country as a whole is buckling under intense heat.
No, that sounds awful. A
Yeah,
lot of
yeah.
people don't have AC where I'm at as well. Being in the in the
Really?
Portland area, it generally isn't super hot. I mean, a lot of people have it, but it's probably gone up over the years as the heat pumps and whatnot have become more affordable. But
Yeah.
it's definitely smaller than say California, where everyone it's just a necessity.
Right, right, right.
But
Yes.
this isn't the show about weather as much as it happens to come up in conversation. Um, but I've been wanting to talk to you for a long time. I really don't have any idea what your backstory is, like how you got into music and how that led to you starting Ranger Effects, and some of your stuff is a lot more. It's very unique, and I think that's what attracts a lot of people to your products. But I'd like to know how you got from point A to point B, and where you started from.
Right, right. Oh, well, I mean, I started playing guitar when I was 14, mainly electric guitar, and just played as much as I possibly could, and all in tons of bands. And around about this early 90s, I started writing reviews as a journalist for musicians' magazines and reviewing equipment. And most of the time, it was guitar effects pedals. And I would just keep hold of anything that was really interesting or exciting or whatever, or buy it or however I could get hold of it. And I just built up a big collection of amazing stuff. And I started using it on sessions, doing some recording and stuff, and just making new sounds and hooks and stuff like that for recording. And eventually, I was, I was getting these pedals modified or customized, and then started to get some made from scratch for me. And then I thought, hang on, could I even do some of this? So I sort of investigated, and after a while, I started to be able to do that, and it's gone on from there. I've just seen what's the next thing I can make, after that first kind of overdrive fuzz pedal. And then in about 2009 started Ranger Effects, and been going on since then. So it's all really based around what I can use, or what would be used in trying to get some new sounds that to fit in with whatever music it is that's being played.
So do you remember what some of those early effects were that you used that kind of led, like, what was the first one that was like, man, this is really an interesting little box here?
Well, the Digitech space station was just pretty great, really. I still use it whenever I can. Digitech are just amazing, and that thing was incredible, and it still is. And the first whammy pedal I remember blew my mind. And of course, there was the Sustainiac.
Oh yes.
The sustaining pickup thing that came with its own transducer that went on the headstock of the guitar.
Yes.
A really big, heavy thing, all in all, but just amazing. And you bring that out in a session, and everyone adores it. So I would do that over and over. And a Zvex Sequoia, that was great. And I customized that so you could run it in sync with the track. So I used that on a load of things, and they were some of the biggest pedals, I think, really.
The biggest inspirations to what got you off the ground, basically.
Yeah, really. I mean, they were just fantastic. Those things. The Digitech space station. I remember when it came out. It was there was no reviews or nothing. It was just a tiny little ad in a product, a paragraph in a musician's friend catalog. and it was called Space Station, and it was gold.
Like,
And the sound sections were called, it's like Sonic, Warp, Alien, and something else. And you just thought, I've got to have this. I don't care what's going on, what reviews are. This needs to be investigated. And it was as good as I thought it would be, and it still
and
is.
that's that one's kind of attained a little bit of a legendary status, being as
Yeah,
it's no longer in production, and a lot of people really crave the space station. I've always wanted to play one, but I've actually never seen one in person. In, in
right. Oh, they're really well. They're very easy to use. The whole usability and user memories, and there's a tuner. Um, but it has this overall flavor. I've got a feeling the way that they do it is basically they make it's a delay chip or something, and they really mess about with the delays, and some delays are very fast,
Okay.
and it gives an overall flavor of a kind of uh, it's a very digital kind of artificial sounding, but you can like hear the cracks in the digitalness, and it has for me, a real kind of endearing um, electronic quality to it. It doesn't sound natural at all, and I don't mind that. I just want something exciting.
Well, I mean, sometimes the the especially with the early digital stuff or stuff that shoots for more lo-fi type sounds, the its inherent faults are kind of what makes it interesting. But then again, that's kind of with
Exactly.
guitar sounds in general. I mean, distortion is not supposed to happen. Like that was what they were trying to avoid. But somebody as a
Yeah.
guitarist said, "Wait a minute, that's cool." And so it seems like we're
Yeah.
always trying to mess up the sound. Is just like what
Yeah.
we do.
Yeah. I think it just gives it character and interest, and makes it stand out and sound, attracts people to it. If it's something a bit odd, but whereas if it's perfect, it's like, well, then that's perfect. But you go into any good recording studio, and it's all perfect as the starting point. You know what I mean? All the reverbs and
Hmm.
all the sound processing is just faultless, and has an engineer making sure it's faultless. But usually you pull out one of these pedals that maybe is has its own idiosyncrasies, and all the strange edge to it that you're talking about, and the engineers are just gagging for it and love it, and as long as you fit it in right into the track and into your band, um, it's great.
Hmm. It's one of those things that sometimes I feel like it's hard to put your finger on, but you know it when you feel it or when you play it, type of deal.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
It's
um, yeah, it's I guess it's a knack to sort of using it in the right way, where it doesn't sound clunky and just wrong, or attracting too much attention. But a little bit of that detail and character, I think, is great, because otherwise it just sounds bland and perfect.
and nobody likes that because humans aren't
No.
aren't perfect. No matter how much we like to pretend or Instagram ourselves to be, it's
Yeah,
everyone's
yeah,
inherently flawed, and I think that when that comes through in various art forms, I feel like that people can really relate to that, even if they don't know
yeah,
why.
yeah.
I think
That's
that's
right.
just how it is.
I think that one of the things that's is a thing that crops up a lot in recordings, in good recordings, is a contrast between stuff that sounds a bit lo-fi and a bit, cutely, falling short, and something else that sounds really lush. Like it could be like an old drum machine, like clicking away, and a really pure vocal, or some oddly distorted guitar and an orchestra. That contrast of like strange and off the wall and perfect, I think, is a key thing with making a hit record, really.
That in some ways is similar to when bands play with dynamics. They get really soft and pretty, and then just try to blow your face off. Um,
Yeah,
it's a
that's
similar kind of vibe, right?
yes. Yeah. Maybe it's just trying to attract attention, and the dynamics attract attention, and maybe the lo-fi-ness of a guitar against the lush vocals and backing vocals attracts attention too. I don't know.
I,
I just thought that up.
that's that's what happens. We just try to come up with things, and hopefully we can
Yeah,
justify them with some sort of backwards sort of reasoning. I don't know. That's
exactly.
what this podcast is all about. We're just trying to figure it out. I don't know what it is, and I don't know if we'll ever figure it out, but that's what we try to do anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
So your pedals, what was the first? You mentioned it was like an overdrive or something. What was the first effect that you created yourself?
That I actually made, well, from a circuit that I got offline was an electro distortion, which I think a lot of people start with. Well, it sounded great, but I mean, it worked. I couldn't believe it. Um, it was a real buzz when it actually worked, a real thrill, and it just made me go, "Oh, what else can I make then?" And that's basically all I've been doing since then, just going, "Well, what else can I do?"
Just like
Um,
I did
but it
that.
was from
Now what?
that, and
You know, it was just
sorry,
like okay, now what's next type of deal, right?
yeah, exactly, yeah, and and of course, you dig around online, and there's all kinds of help and circuits to download and try out, and it got pretty hard quickly.
Yes, yeah, it gets complicated really fast, doesn't it?
Yeah, but after a while, it got eased up a bit. But it's a tough thing, really. I mean, I got books out the library and sort of textbooks and worked through it and stuff like that. And um, I did a course on electronics and had people helping and stuff. So I'm not great at it, but I'm all right, and I've got a vague idea what I'm doing.
I would say you have a little more than a vague idea what you're doing.
Yes, it varies a
It just
bit.
depends on the day.
Yeah.
So the first pedal that I seen, and this is this is probably a lot later into your career than what when you actually started. But the first pedal I seen was, I believe, the Dr. Frankenstein, I think.
Yes, that was pretty early. That was about I think it was the second pedal I
Oh,
made.
okay.
It was the original circuit came from the Crash Sync circuit by John Hollis, which I think was based on the front end of an MXR Blue box.
Oh,
And I had one of them, and that was a mental pedal. But yeah, so it originally was from that, and I just tweaked stuff about a bit, added a whole load of other stuff, and it went on from there. And it's still kind of developing, really. But I just love the extremeness of that,
mm-hmm.
and the noise gate is like unreal how how well it works. And it's not an adjustable noise gate, but I don't know. It's totally silent and seems to do its job good. And so things went on from there. I found the nice knife switch and enclosure, and it all came together like that. Went on from there. So at the moment, the big Frankenstein one with the knife switch, it's got it's temporarily discontinued while we come out with a new version, which is going to take a little while. But so it'll still be around, but evolving.
Gotcha. What informs, like, your pedals look very unique, and I think they look really really cool. What
Oh,
informs the
thanks.
aesthetic and like the kind of the vibe? It's all this kind of, outside looking in, it gives kind of this mad scientist type vibe to just about all of them. What kind of informs that? Are you a
Right.
fan of I don't know, Mary Shelley or something? Like, where did all that come
Um,
from?
Well, I think it's more that I do like it. If I think there's nothing wrong with it being a standout design with interesting, unique features. So I mean, it's all about the sound, but if it looks good, then that's good too. But it really comes from the fact that when I started doing stuff, and you buy an enclosure to put the what circuit in that you made, you have to drill the holes out. And I don't have a pillar drill or any of that stuff. It was all like handheld Dremel, just terrible stuff with the drill would skid off the side and mess the paint up, all that
Mm-hmm.
awfulness. And then you'd have to file it out to make the sockets fit. And I just hated all this stuff, and it was just brutal metalwork. And really, I wasn't very good at it. Didn't have the right tools. So the first chance I had, I looked around for metalwork companies, and I finally settled on the one that I'm with now. Um, and I thought, well, okay, if we're doing custom designs of the enclosures, why not do it? Have some fun with it. Do something that's different and unique, and just see what you can get out of it. So from that's where the sort of asymmetric enclosures and that sort of stuff come from. And the metalwork company I'm with, um, uh, they humour me and go along with it, and eventually we get the boxes back and they're painted and they're drilled and everything very nearly fits, and it's great. And so now we've relocated the workshop to be actually just down the road from the metalwork company. So we're popping up and backs and forwards between there and sorting out how the next new enclosure should go and all that kind of thing. So it's really they just kind of indulged my interest for anything a bit different.
That's convenient being so close, and I think whether it was by design or by accident, having the custom enclosures, um, it helps the product stand out. I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
it everything's in the a standard Hammond style box. Not everything,
yes,
but most everything. And I think having
yeah.
these asymmetrical designs and it helps people go, oh yeah, that looks really interesting. I know that's what happened with me. I seen the box and I was like, what is that? I got to know more.
That's that's a good starting point,
Mm-hmm.
really.
I think aesthetics are
Yeah,
extremely important, and I think that people who say they aren't are kidding themselves.
yeah. No, you're right. Um, I mean, one thing that gets me is most mini pedals, the sockets on the side. I just don't get it. Um, and I know people like it and use them, and there are some incredible things about. But I just thought, to start with, can we not just put everything on the end top end panel of the box?
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the things that we do, and um, I think it's just great to be able to drop it into the tiniest little space in a pedal board somewhere.
Yeah, that does.
Um,
That helps a lot. It's
yeah, so if you're making your own boxes, that's the kind of thing you can do. So everything can be top panel mounted, and all that sort of thing.
mm-hmm. Yeah, because you just could not fit that on a standard. What is it? I forget. I'm terrible with the box numbers. I forget what they are, but the standard mini pedal, there's not
Yeah,
room to do
actually,
it, is there?
I've never used one. I've no idea with the sort of offset holes on the sides. Um, yeah, I don't really understand it, but anyway, that's just my thing, and obviously, plenty of people do understand it. So
I mean, you
whatever.
you. That's really interesting that you got custom enclosures basically out of the box or out of the gate rather. Um,
Yeah, it's just my hate of metalwork, really. And I just thought, listen, I don't want anything to do with this. Okay, well, if that's the case, then get them made and get them done nice and how you want, and it's a good setup.
and not have to worry about it. It's done. It's there. It's right,
Yeah,
and you can focus on the circuits and whatever else you
yeah, yeah,
really enjoy about the process.
yeah. And so then we teamed up with Rich DeMeo from New York, doing graphics, and it's a nice system, and he's really on the same wavelength with me with designs, and I feel it's just in the right setup for making some big progress, for really moving forward with some new things.
That's really cool.
Yeah,
Have you
yeah.
seen like a big jump in the last couple years? It seems like, at least from a consumer level, I see more of your pedals out in the wild in the last probably year and a half than I did before. Um,
That's
is that
right. I would say a year and a half.
Yeah?
It was the Deep Space Pulsar, the sidechainer pedal that came out a year ago last January. Would that be January 6th,
That sounds
January 17, I
that
think?
sounds right.
Um, yeah, and so that was really good for us, and that's still going great. Um, so since then, I think that's helped, and moving to the new premises, and more people working for the company. So it's all these things all to come together. And Rich in New York, he's very good with the whole marketing and communication aspect of things. So I think all these things make an impact.
Just making the machine work more efficiently. Just going
Yeah,
chugging.
yeah. The overall machine of the posting online, and the direction of the new pedals going in, all this stuff, and hopefully it's all working, coming together.
So has there been anything come up that kind of surprised you, or maybe artists that use your stuff or have expressed interest in your stuff that kind of made you go, "Oh wow, I had no idea that this guy even knew about the company," or anything like that ever pop up?
Um, I'm not sure. It's the artists, the guys that use the pedals. It's very. I mean, we've got some great people who use our stuff, but and people say, "So how did you get these people?" And it's all complete fluke, really, as far as I can tell. Just so chancy, uh, and I'm just looking. John Frusciante, who from the Red Hot Chili Peppers, he does some DJing. I think he's into like electro and techno and
Oh,
stuff.
okay.
And a friend of mine is a techno DJ, and they met up, and he said, "Oh, my mate David does some pedals. Can I send you a link?" And he said, "Sure." In the hours they had waiting around before their show, and so a day or two later, I get an email from him, and he buys a few. And that was great. That was about 2 months after the first pedals came
Oh
out.
wow,
And I
that's
thought, oh,
cool.
great, this is how it's going to be.
Rock stars are gonna be buying my stuff all the time, every
Yeah, it's
day.
just all the A-listers queuing up. Yeah,
Yes.
but no, it's just that kind of complete chance. So I don't know. Maybe it'll change. I think having a presence at the trade shows has got to be useful.
That segues nicely into what I wanted to talk to you about. Nam, seems like you were hitting Nam fairly aggressively from the get go, basically as soon as you were able to. Is that accurate? And if so, has that helped you out?
Um, yeah. I've when was it? Was it about 5 or 6 years ago? The guys at Zvex asked if I wanted a ticket to come along, be their guest, just to kind of wander around the show, and of course I did, and that was my first time there, just walking around with a big bag full of pedals, and anyone who stood still, I would like start chatting with them, and if they asked why I was there, I would start showing them the pedals and stuff, and of course in America, everyone's up for that kind of thing. Everyone wants to see something new, and is into it and encouraging. So I had a great time just walking around, and Zvex themselves were really helpful, introducing me with people. And then Dwarfcraft got in touch the next year, and we shared a booth with a whole crew of us, and that was so fantastic and really helpful. And then after that, I had a stand on my own stand, and it was just me there, and I had a giant sized Dr. Frankenstein pedal I'd made out of like aluminium and polystyrene and hot glue, and I shipped this thing over and set it all up, and at the end of the show packed it, took it all down, packed it all away, and it was one of the hardest things I've ever done. It was incredibly tough and stressful, and so from since then it's been okay. It's NAMM coming up. We need a banner, and that's going to be it. Other than the pedals and the pedal boards, we're not going to make any papier-mâché giant things because we're going to give that a rest for a while.
Right.
So since that time, then I think it was last January I was there with a big banner, and that worked perfectly well, and it was great. It's a lot of the time. We're working away here on our own, and you don't get, there's not like other pedal companies around who you meet up with every other day or anything like that. So actually meeting up with other pedal companies like somewhere at NAMM is hugely important and really, really a big draw for doing the whole show. People who feel your pain, who know where you're coming from and have the same problems and a few steps ahead, and so you can find out how get advice and stuff like that. That's one of the major things of going there. It's got to be.
Yeah.
Plus, you're just meeting the whole world, one person at a time, and telling them about your pedals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which, if it's stuff that you made and you designed, that's just fine. That's brilliant.
That is you bring up a really interesting point that I tend to forget because where I live, I'm sort of surrounded by effects builders and people in the gear community, like literally within a 30-minute drive, like all the time. And so we talk a lot, and we I don't build pedals, but I'm very involved in the industry, and so we we talk all the time. We like you say, have the same complaints, and I forget over there sometimes you're a lot more isolated from
That's
things.
right. I mean, there are there's quite a few companies actually, and of all varying size, but not as many as the States really. So there's the biggest ones, I guess. There's a Stone Deaf who are up north, and there's Frederick Effects in North London, but they seem to move in a different circle to me. So it's very more sort of diluted and feel a lot more isolated. But that's okay. Online there's all the forums and groups that give support these days.
That's true. I think that's a really helpful aspect of the whole thing, and of
Yeah, you're not kidding. Yeah,
really. I mean, it's it's weird, right? Because pedals are kind of a weird thing. I'm sure you run into this sometimes when you run into a new person, and the question inevitably comes up of what do you do, or and you'd have to try to explain to it, and then they don't even know what a pedal is.
Yeah, I know. It's a kind of guitar accessory. If you play electric, I'm doing all the. You have to do the explanation from scratch kind of thing because most people have no clue what you're talking about. But once you say wah wah or fuzzbox that you stamp on to sound like a rock god, people kind of pretend like they know what you're talking about.
Right. That's what I think that's what Joel from Chase Bliss, he said as well. He said, "Yeah, when I tell people I make wah wah pedals, I'm pretty sure that's dude told me that. They get it." And it's like, yeah, that's all he does is make wah wah pedals.
Yeah, it's close enough. It's close enough.
It is funny though. Like it's these little boxes are things that guys like me get so excited about and so passionate about, and
Yeah, it's really weird, isn't it? It's a whole. I mean, well, I'm the worst defender. I'm totally into them and have been for such a long time. But is there the same thing with like guitar capos, or I don't know. I don't. I guess they're a simpler sort of thing, but and there probably is with guitar amplifiers, the whole big scene of makers. But
There is for sure with amps.
it somehow seems more. I don't know. Is it a bit more open-ended and innovative with effects pedals? Maybe that's really unfair of me. I don't know.
Well, there's some in like I think there is people, or rather there are people who um I know there are people who are, amp geeks and they collect amplifiers, and guys that collect
Yeah.
guitars and things like that. And I don't know that there's necessarily more pedal geeks as far as the collectors like myself, but I do know that they're much more accessible from a price
Oh
perspective,
yes, of course.
and they're easier. If you have 20 amplifiers, it takes up a lot more room than 20 effects pedals.
Yeah.
Um, and
Guitars get pretty expensive. Yeah.
guitars are
So
expensive. I mean, not that pedals are cheap, and nor should they be, but they just by nature of them, they are going to be more affordable than
yeah.
other things. Um,
But also they're cute little things with LEDs on them, and what's not to like really?
well, and kind of piggybacking off the price, it's like how can you more drastically change your sound, per dollar than with a good fuzz box, or and
That's true.
I mean, it changes everything. It,
Yeah, yeah.
um,
Yeah, you can buy a new guitar, and I mean, well, guitars do vary quite a bit, but if you want to talk broad strokes,
mm-hmm.
you know, plugging in a whammy pedal or an echo pedal, any member of the public can go, "Gosh, it sounds all spacey now," or it sounds like it's in a huge hall all of a sudden. Everyone can hear the difference.
Yeah, they're not
Um,
most of them aren't super subtle. It's
yeah,
it's
yeah.
dramatic.
But I think it's good, the broad strokes, um, to just try and reach a new place.
That's what it always has been for me. It's I admittedly spend a lot, like way too much time uh chasing sounds rather than improving my guitar playing. But I get fascinated by I've got a lot of stuff and making it work together in a way that I've never heard before. Uh,
Yeah,
that kind of stuff just really really intrigues me. Basically trying to chase down new sounds.
yeah.
um
But you know what? While you're chasing these sounds down, you're playing guitar.
yeah.
You're going, how does that? Listen to this chord through this overdrive, and you're playing guitar, and that's the bottom line. It's whatever keeps you playing guitar, and that's what these pedals do. They make you play for another half hour when you weren't intending to.
All the time. And my wife says, "Time to go," or "Time for bed." And I'm like, "Yeah, but hold on. I got to see what happens when I plug this
Yeah.
into
Or I've got,
or whatever."
got a new song coming along.
Hmm.
Here's a new riff.
They definitely inspire new riffs. That's for sure.
Yeah, yeah, yes. This is all key stuff, really, isn't it?
It is. It's kind of what it's all about at the end of the day. It's sort of like the linchpin of the entire industry.
Yeah.
It really is. Because if everyone stops playing guitar, well, you know, we've got a problem.
They'll have less fun.
They will have much less fun.
Yeah.
So here's a good question for you. Like, who are some of your favorite artists? Like, who made you start playing guitar, and who inspires you artistically as a player?
Wow. Well, what with being incredibly old, I mean, the first person was probably like Mick Ronson or someone like that. Mark Bolan from back in the day. And oh, a bunch of people since then. Tom Morello was big for me. Um, I like Jimi Hendrix when he's making feedback spacey noises. I'm not much into the blues stuff. And I think a lot. When I say recently, I mean over the last few decades, I've been getting more and more into electronic music,
Okay.
which a lot of the time, if you want to come up with new sounds, can be more inspiring, you know. But my idea has always been to, you know, wherever you get the ideas, you know, you follow your own lead with it, and the chances are it'll be different from the original thing, and have a whole new way of, you know, leading onto a whole new area. But then you get the pedal to a rock guitar player, and then you can start like transforming music and uh, creating new hits, really. And that's the basically what we're about.
So in the kind of spirit of looking at more at electronic side of things, and forgive me if you're already doing this and I'm not aware, have you started looking kind of into the modular synth world and the all that Eurorack stuff and uh, as a kind of maybe another direction for the company? Because if that's your
Um,
interest, it seems to make sense, right?
yeah, I do like that stuff. I find it really. A friend of mine has a huge modular synth, and I find it very daunting trying to. If I were to have to link things up and get a sound out of it, but that's all part of the game of how you patch it all together. Um, and lots of there's a whole bunch of companies pedal companies who are all moving into that area, and I don't know why. Whenever I start to think about it, I think, yeah, but you buy you can buy some module doing a sort of vaguely something in the direction you're thinking, and they'll do it incredibly well, really, just fantastic. And it would be so hard to get anywhere near what the quality of what they're doing and all that. And I just get really discouraged thinking all these brilliant companies about doing modular synth, and it's the absolute definition of bending and creating new sounds. But for some reason, I don't feel that same um, restriction and the same discouragement when I think of pedals. I just think, go for it, do it. Hey, it'll be different and new, and maybe it'll be crap, but just try it out. So I haven't really gone into that area, but I like hanging around the modular synths. They're pretty wild, really.
They are. I keep threatening to get into it, and I think that would probably be a mistake for me because if I'm this addicted to pedals, I'm sure that would be just as bad, if not worse.
Yes, it's a slippery slope. Yeah,
So,
hanging around the modular synth sections of NAMM is a whole lot of fun, really.
I believe it, and I'm told from the guys that are really into it. There's a few kind of in the community that also are into the modular game. They're like, "Oh, you live in Portland and you're curious about modular synth? That's like the modular synth capital." I'm like, I didn't
Yeah,
know that, and that's dangerous for me to know about. Um, but I did before I knew what they were. This is years ago, and I wish I could remember the store's name off the top of my head. I accidentally wandered into a modular synth store here in town. I was just like, "What's that?" It's got an asteroids character on the sign. I
yeah.
wonder what's in there. And wandered in there, and I was just like, "Wow, what is all this stuff?" And but I was so like naive to. I barely even knew anything about effects pedals at that point. Um, so I just had no idea what I was looking at, and I was like, "Well, I don't see any guitars in here, so this must not be the store for me." And I kind of wandered out.
Yeah.
But now I'm wondering. I'm sure that store is still around. Um, if we're the quote unquote, synth capital of the world.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Um,
Also, there's an interesting, like you're talking about, really, pedal companies going into the modular synth world. Um, there's a bunch of stores that are modular synth stores, but they sell pedals as well, and that's an interesting crossover, I think. In that some pedals you think, wouldn't do well in that situation in that store, and some you think really would. And because the modular synth market is doing well, I mean it's got to be good for everyone, really.
It's I do see, for what it's worth, I do see a lot of synth players just integrating pedals into their rigs. I see that all the time. And but you definitely don't see the opposite. You don't see very many guitar players integrating modular into their world. And I
Yeah,
don't know if that's because it's easier to integrate a pedal into a synth setup, and like to for the guitar players to do the opposite, it would just be so involved.
yes,
I'm not really sure what it
maybe it would. Maybe I don't know. I'm sure that I would just like stomp all over it and break it.
is.
Um,
That's a good point.
but wasn't there? Didn't uh, is it Pittsburgh Audio bring out a a modular synth pedal? I believe
That's
it was basically. I think it was a, the actual rack unit, but a floor mounted one facing upwards,
that sounds
and the
vaguely
units would slot
familiar.
into
Yeah,
that.
I forgot about that.
I mean, there was more to it. They were controlling things and power things, all the stuff that you'd need. But you ended up with a load of patch cables in and out the top, which actually looked incredibly exciting, I have to say.
I'm gonna
I've never seen one of these in person. But
I'm gonna need to do some googling. I think I've heard of this before, but I don't think I followed up and did any research because there's something in my brain telling me yes, you know about this, but I can't picture it in my head like what it actually
yeah, I
looks
can't
like.
remember the name.
But
But
Pittsburgh, I'm pretty sure is a. There's probably somebody listening to this right now going, yes, yes, they're huge.
yeah,
But I'm like,
hi, look, how you doing? Yes.
yeah. Um, but anyway, yeah, I don't know. I've always thought that your vibe would slot in nicely into that world as well, and so I'm
Yeah.
curious.
That first time when I went to NAM and was wandering around with the bag, I went to the modular synth section and showed them a few things, and they all just totally flipped. But it's always the same with these guys. They go, "Oh man, look at that! Oh my, oh god, can you control it with CV?" And they always ask that, And a lot of the time, the answer is no, sorry, because they want to have the full, they want to have their little step sequencer to tweak it around and all kinds of stuff. Um, so there's specific requirements they like.
They do.
But I think they also like LEDs, so that's good.
They like blinky lights just like we do. It's
Yeah, yeah,
th-
yes,
everyone likes blinky lights.
exactly, yes,
That could be what this episode's titled. Everyone likes blinky lights. 'Cause it's true.
yeah, yeah. That's me.
So here's a random question. What is your favorite effect that is not made by your company?
Um, uh, that's interesting. Well, the those ones I mentioned earlier are always favourites still. Now, well, I mean, I've just got my Chase Bliss Thermi,
Mm.
which is pretty rocking, and um, what else? Oh, one that I want to get is that Death by Audio thing with the faders on it
Oh
that
yeah, yeah.
totally destroys your sound. But,
I love that everything they do just mangles your signal
yeah,
in different ways. It's great.
yeah, you know that pedal is it? It's Absolute Annihilation or something like that. It's called.
Total sonic
So,
annihilation, I think.
yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds that sounds like it. But, if you're working on circuits and you're on the breadboard and trying things out, loads of the times you'll get something and it'll just be like you ruin the sound in some awful way, and it'll disappear or it'll howl or something like that. Whatever. Um, and they've got that, but they've gone. Hang on, we can control it like this. Let's embrace this sound. That the fact that it is just silent for the first 3 seconds of a big chord, and that's what it does. And I think it's an amazing viewpoint um, that they've taken what could be a strange thing that isn't that for a lot of people isn't ideal, and they said, nope, this is ideal. You want to have your sound totally mangled, and then it reappears as a in flames.
Of course.
And the end result is, I'm like, man, I'd like to get one of them.
Well, they're an interesting company. I'm pretty sure I've told this story before, but and I wish I could remember the specifics, but I know that it was something that I saw. It was a electronics teacher or an engineer of some sort. I believe the story was his student brought in a Death by Audio pedal, and I don't know which one it was, but
Yeah.
he proceeded to kind of tear it apart, verbally, not physically, but like going, these transistors are in backwards, and this is, like, this is not how this is supposed to work. Like, this is dumb. This is like totally,
Yeah.
totally ignorant from, like what an engineer would do. And the guy's like, yeah, but it sounds good. So how can it be wrong?
Yeah.
Like
I've had this argument so many times. Yeah, this schematic is unsanitary. That's what engineers say.
Oh, really? That's how they say it.
Yes. Yeah, I've been advised to keep away from various circuit diagrams because they're just wrong. And you think, yeah, but it sounds good, and that's the answer to everything. The key is to keep the sounding good bit and try and build on the reliability and the consistency.
Right.
If something you've done is just a fluke, you've got to kind of reproduce it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you know? I think Devi Ever put her diagrams online a while ago, and I had a look at them, and I couldn't understand a load of them. They're all connected up backwards and not connected. I'm like, what is all this stuff? I don't understand this. And the result is, hey, it sounds good. And you go, oh, okay then. That's what it's all about. Does it sound good? Is it going to make you play a bit more?
That is funny because I think like a strictly engineer type person. I mean, we need those guys in this business too. But I think that sometimes their wiring is just different than maybe how you and I are, where we're more creative minded, and so the answer for us is like, yeah, does it sound good? Whereas the answer for them is, this is not how it's supposed to be.
Yes, this isn't done properly, kind of thing. I guess it's getting a balance between the two, really. But if it doesn't sound exciting, then you're nowhere with it, really.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how it's wired. If it's boring, then it's a waste of time, kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, at least in my viewpoint, I don't, we have a lot of things to choose from in as players, which is fantastic. But if it's boring, it's going to get glossed over rather quickly.
Yeah, not so good. Yes. Yeah.
So we're getting into kind of the final stretch, last few things. Before I get into like the really big important question, it's intense. I hope you're ready for it.
Okay.
Is there anything you'd like to kind of plug or tell people where they can find you, or any shout outs you'd like to make, just kind of as a last thing here?
Well, if people haven't seen or heard any of our effects, and maybe have just heard the name, go and have a look at www.raingerfx.com, which is RAINGER FreddyXray.com, and you can see and hear everything that we're talking about there. What have we got? We've got some new things going on. We've got the bleep pedal is about to come out.
Oh,
This
yes.
is an exclusive for you, which is a new mini pedal that does all kinds of stuff, and very hard to describe.
I'm
There's the
guessing this is
freaking
different
blender.
than the sorry, not to interrupt, but this is different than the dwarf bleep, right?
It's a compilation of all the best bits of all the various. There were 4, I think, different dwarf pedals, and it's taking all the best bits of all 4. 2 of which were bass pedals, and I think a lot of guitarists won't have ever investigated them. And so done that and put them all in the same enclosure, all adjustable and a whole new outlook on the vibe of the pedals.
Well,
There's
that's
also
exciting.
so that should be around in not very long. There's the Freakin' Bender, which is out, which is the collaboration with Color Sound, the tone bender.
Oh, that's right. I forgot you had that at NAMM. That is cool.
Yeah, that's it's the latest tone bender, and it's a Color Sound Ranger Effects collaboration. It's reverse engineered from their early '80s silicon tone bender, which I just adore, and I still use loads. And the final point, the final fraction of turn on the drive knob, it flips over to being the Freakenstein overdrive in all its kind of gated intensity and strange overtoneness.
That's
Um,
cool. Does it click over, or is it just all of
yeah,
a
it just
sudden it's there?
automatically flips over to be that one, and the controls flip over to be the Freakenstein controls, and it's a really nice addition to the tone bender. So for half of this, it's all just straightforward tone bender sound, which I have to say they sound incredible when you hear one again through a big amp. It is a big sound, and then it goes over to the Freakenstein sound, which is big in a totally different way. So it covers a whole load of distortion sort of needs really,
That's
and
very
it's
cool.
in the classic old tone bender enclosure with the same guy doing the artwork. And there's an expression pedal facility that you can plug in the side to control the Freakenstein overtone. They're only available from Macari's directly, which is where they all came from way back in the 60s.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So that's me plugging Macari's for them. And for Ranger Effects, there should be at least 2 other new products over the next 6 months or so, which are really quite different and very excited about, which we'll be telling the world about soon.
Oh, we got to keep that under wraps for now.
Yeah, kind of.
Oh, I was hoping to get that, like the classical reporter trying to get that inside scoop, but
Yeah, well, the thing is, if it doesn't actually work, then it's all a big anticlimax. So you
that's
have to
very
make
true.
sure if it's actually working, then you can tell people about it.
All right, that sounds good. You keep me in the loop. Keep me in the
Oh, I
loop.
definitely will play. Yeah,
All right, that sounds good. So now we're gonna this is a sensitive subject for a lot of people, especially on the internet.
yeah.
So this is a big one. I hope you're sitting down
I'm
and trying
braced
and
for it.
okay. So what kind of pizza do you like?
The pizza. Well, I mean, there are other kind. There's one kind, and I think that's all there is. It's pepperoni, and that's all there is.
That's all there is. That's it. That's the only kind.
Well, you can
Just
get pepperoni pizza, or you can get just plain pizza. I think that's the full choice, I think. And
is that all
so
they have in the UK?
that's all anywhere in the world that is actually worth bothering about.
I see.
It's just pepperoni.
I see. Keeping it classic. I
Yeah.
like that.
What are you coming from a different angle, Blake?
Me? No, I love pepperoni pizza. I
Okay.
don't. I
I was
don't.
worried for a moment there.
I do. I gotta say, I do. I do step out of the box a little bit on occasion. I put some other meats on there. Sometimes some jalapenos or pepperoncinis on pizza.
Yeah.
They're pretty good.
Yeah,
Um,
mushroom can be good.
I love mushrooms. Uh, I love them. Um, but I tend to experiment a little bit, but not too much. I mean, no pineapples for this guy, as everyone is
Yeah,
already
please,
aware.
please, no, no. But all pizza tastes better standing up, though. So it has to be eaten standing up.
That's a good point. I never thought of it that way. It is
Uh,
kind of better standing up, isn't it?
yes, I think most food is, like ice cream standing in front of the freezer, going just one more spoonful, and then I'm going to put it away. Okay. Just one more spoonful. It's never tasted better.
It's that last bite, and then you get there's like a little chunk of chocolate or something in there, and it's like, but just one
I'll,
more,
I'll just
just
tidy it up. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, there's a little. Okay, one more. That's a
Yes.
good. It's a good point. A lot of foods are better standing up. That's something I never ever thought of before.
Do you
That's
know?
brilliant.
I heard a little while ago that if you listen to high frequency sounds, um, things taste more tart, a bit more acid. And if you listen to low frequency sounds, things taste more sort of mellow and sweeter maybe. And
Really?
so I was thinking, so what if you listen to a new effects pedal while uh, eating a lemon? Will it change? Does it work the other way around? Does it make you hear more trebly?
I don't know. This is a fascinating thing, and I 100% believe it.
Because
I
I've
because we know that like sound impacts you dramatically, right?
yeah, but yes, it's been proven that it does affect how things taste. There's been experiments done. So I wonder if it worked the other way. Maybe we should be selling effects pedals with lemon candy. What an
Right.
amazing idea!
That is a great idea. I've got to try this.
Or why not just sell the lemon candy? Oh my god, it gets better and better. Then we wouldn't need to make all these effects pedals.
That's right, because everyone likes lemon candy.
Oh god,
It basically sells itself.
really, it does. That's
You don't have to tell
amazing.
everybody why. It's just like because it's lemon candy. It's a
Yeah,
lemon drop. What do you want? Like,
exactly.
you trying to tell me you don't like lemon drops?
Yeah,
Of course you do. Everyone does. Well, it's been good, but we're right at that hour mark, and I don't want to take up too much of your time. But if you did have a few more minutes, I have a little Patreon page that I like to put some special content on. If you have time for
yeah,
maybe a little lightning round,
yeah.
um,
Sure,
we could do that.
great.
Okay. Well, I'm going to close this part of the episode out. So, um, thank you very much for coming on, David. I really appreciate it.
It was
This
my
is
pleasure, Blake. Really,
it's
it's
been
great.
great, really fun.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So I'll go ahead and close this one out. So for David, this is Blake, and as always, folks, good luck and good tones. I really kind of feel like a dingus because I've been meaning to get David on the show for like so long, and he's been down, but just through life and various circumstances, kind of like all the other guests that like anybody I've been trying to get on for a long time, and it like just hasn't worked. It's always this weird convoluted thing of why not, but fortunately we were able to make this happen, and I think you'll agree it was a real treat listening to that guy. For some reason, just hearing him talk, like, really brings a smile to my face. I don't know what it is, but ever since the first time I met him at NAMM, I knew that guy had to come on the podcast, so I'm glad we finally did it. And like you heard, he did agree to the lightning round. So it wasn't so much a lightning round. I'm still trying to figure those out. But if you want a little more Tone Mob in your life, go to tonemob.com. No, I did that on the last one too. Why is that so hard for me? Go to patreon.com/tonemob, and you will be able to check out the various tiers we have for rewards and how you can get access to the podcast. One thing that surprised me is the highest tier that we currently have is the $25 tier. And what I wanted to do was make that fun. I also didn't really think anybody was going to do it, but turns out there's been a bunch of you that are interested, and that tier is you get all of the extras that are included in the other tier. And on top of it, Jess and I send you random things throughout the year. Like, we just send you random objects. They might be guitar related, and thus far they mostly have been to those that have went to that level. But for the most part, it's kind of whatever. We're actually actively seeking the silliest and dumbest things that we could possibly send somebody at a reasonable rate in their mailbox. So if that is something you're interested in, is getting a little bit of a peek into the demented sense of humor that I have, that's, I guess, the tier for you. But there's a lot lower levels than that, and there's a lot of ways you can support the show. And at $5, you get an extra episodes every week. You get extra content. So it's not a full hour like this. It's usually Jess and I shooting the breeze. Occasionally, as in this case, if I can get a guest who has a little extra time to stick around, then we'll record a little bit of extra content for you guys. So if you want to listen to David's extra portion, go to patreon.com/tonemob and you can check it out. And if you really like the show, please do me a favor and just tell somebody about it. It could be anybody you know. Just tell your friends. Just tell one person, one of your fellow gear nerds, maybe the guy that works at the guitar store that you go to, maybe your tech, maybe who knows. Just somebody involved in music. Maybe they just really like this side of music. Just tell somebody about it. I would I'm having a tough time with this. I need to take a nap. Just if you could just tell anybody that you think would be interested, that would be very helpful, and I would be forever in your debt. So thank you very much for tuning in. As always, I'm flattered, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye. One last thing before we totally sign off here. I just want to remind you that if you do any shopping at Stringjoy, that's Stringjoy guitar strings made in Nashville, that will help me out as well. As I've said for years, I'm heavily involved in that company, and I really do think they're making the best products on the market. So if you would like to try custom strings, go to tonemob.com/stringjoy and check them out today. I seriously love what the team down there is doing. I help them out with all kinds of things, and by you supporting them, you are also supporting me as well. And hey, you need some strings, so why not get some custom strings just for your guitar and playing style? Again, the link for that is tonemob.com/stringjoy, and that will take you right to their website, and you can do all your shopping through there, and that will help everyone involved out. So thank you very much. Talk to you next time. We are brought to you by the wonderful folks at Gun Street Wiring Shop. Yes, Gun Street Wiring Shop. I've talked about them before. I used to say based out of Bend, Oregon, but guess what? Sean moved to my neck of the woods. Sean's in Portland. Sean is awesome and has helped me with a bunch of stuff lately. And if you have wiring needs for your guitar, he can help you too. If you want to get weird with it, he can get weird. If you just need to spruce things up a little bit, there's your guy. He takes all the guesswork out of doing your guitar wiring, and he makes it simple, and his customer service is top-notch, and I can't say enough good things about Gun Street as a company. I really respect Sean and what he's all about, and the product is top notch. I've got 3 different guitars that now have Gun Street harnesses in them, and I could not be happier. So go to gunstreetwiringshop.com and check them out.